The grand chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with 1,000 different life forms, each representing civilizations that had walked among the stars for millennia beyond Kanta Ambassador. Velthar of the Zanari Communion raised his primary sensory. Stockson called the emergency session to order with a pulse of bioluminescent authority that cascaded. Across his translucent body, honored delegates, his voice, synthesizer projected in the common tongue. We gather to witness what may be the shortest war in galactic history. The holographic display at the chamber's center flickered to life, showing two fleets positioned in the darkness of space. On one side hung the Croc's Imperial Armada, 3,000 vessels strong. Each ship a masterwork of military engineering refined over 8,000 years of conquest. The other side floated humanity's defense fleet, 47 ships that looked almost primitive by comparison. The contrast drew murmurs from the assembled delegates. The Cracks have issued their ultimatum, Velthar continued, manipulating the display to show the decoded transmission. Humanity has 24 hours to surrender their sovereignty and accept vassal status under the KRTHX Empire. Ripple of clicks and whistles moved through the chamber. The Cracks were known for their efficiency in warfare, but they typically chose opponents carefully. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 73 years ago. They were infants on the galactic stage. Have the humans responded? Asked Council Member Shkara, her chitinous plates rattling with what might have been concern or amusement. Vithar gestured. And a new transmission played. A human male in a simple military uniform appeared, his face carrying the weathered look common to soldier species. Across the galaxy, this is Admiral Marcus Chen of the United Human Naval Service. The recording stated the Cracks Empire has demanded our surrender. Chen paused, and something flickered behind his eyes. That Velthar's species had no cultural context to interpret our answer is no. The transmission ended. The chamber erupted in discussion. Foolish, hissed Representative Colt of the Mechanist. Collective, their pride will cost them their entire species. Perhaps we should intervene, suggested Ambassador Threen, her empathic field projecting genuine distress. The humans are practically children. Velthar dimmed his bioluminescence to request silence. Council's Xenostrategic Analysis Division has completed their projections, he announced. New hologram materialized, showing complex mathematical models and tactical simulations. Senior Analyst Curvin, a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field, drifted forward to present the findings. We have run 47,000 combat simulations using all available data on both species. Curvin's voice resonated directly in the minds of those present in every scenario. The Krithaks achieved total victory. The hologram showed fleet movements, weapons exchanges, and casualty projections. Average time to human defeat, 6.3 hours. Minimum time in the most optimistic projections, 4.7 hours. Maximum resistance duration, assuming perfect human tactics and multiple Cracks tactical errors, 9.1 hours. The chamber absorbed this information with varying degrees of satisfaction. What of human technological capabilities? Asked Councilmember Vrax. They have shown remarkable innovation speed. Curvin pulsed with what might have been the energy being equivalent of a dismissive gesture. Human innovation is indeed impressive for such a young species, the analyst acknowledged. They've developed nuclear fission, achieved spaceflight, and cracked the faster-than-light barrier, all within a span of 200 planetary rotations. However, innovation speed does not overcome simple mathematical reality. The Cracks possess overwhelming numerical superiority. Weapon systems refined over 8 millennia, shield technology that can withstand stellar radiation, and tactical experience from conquering 47 star systems. Humanity has enthusiasm in 47 ships. Laughter rippled through the chamber in a dozen different forms. Velthar allowed it to continue for a moment before calling for order once more. The question before the council is whether we intervene to prevent genocide or allow events to proceed as a lesson to other emerging species about the realities of galactic power. Structures. The debate that followed stretched for hours. Some delegates argued for mercy, citing the Council's founding principles of protecting developing civilizations. Others countered that humanity had been warned repeatedly about their aggressive expansion and refusal to accept protectorate status under established powers. The Krithaks, while brutal, were acting within their rights under the Treaty of Corvel, which permitted warfare between spacefaring nations that refused mediation. The humans were offered a peaceful path, argued Delegate Sorn. They could have accepted limited sovereignty under Krithak's protection instead. They insisted on full independence and equal standing with civilizations 100 times their age. This is the price of arrogance, Ambassador Threens' empathic field flared with frustration. They simply want what every species wants. She projected the freedom to determine their own future. Freedom they clearly lack the power to secure. Velthar interjected. The vote is called. Should the Council intervene in the KRTHAX human conflict? The vote was swift and decisive. 3% voted against intervention. The humans would face their fate alone as the chamber cleared. Velthor lingered at the central display. Watching the two fleets in their positions, something about the human formation seemed odd to his trained. Either ships weren't arranged in any recognizable defensive pattern. In fact, they seemed almost randomly scattered. Curious, he murmured to himself. Junior analyst Priva approached, her wing membranes folded in a gesture of respect. Ambassador, I have reviewed the human cultural databases, she offered. Hesitantly, there is something we may have overlooked. Velthar turned his sensory stalks toward her. Explain. Humanity's historical records show an unusual pattern. Preva continued. In their pre-space flight era, they fought approximately 16,000 documented wars against themselves. That is not unusual for developing species. Velthar noted. True. Priva agreed, but the intensity and innovation are remarkable. They developed increasingly efficient methods of warfare at an exponential rate. Within a span of just 1,000 planetary rotations, they went from simple projectile weapons to thermonuclear devices capable of sterilizing their entire planet. And yet they refrained from using them in total war. Velthar observed, which suggests either wisdom or cowardice or something else entirely. Priva suggested. Quiet. Levethar considered this, but ultimately dismissed it with a wave of his manipulation appendages. Your concern is noted, but the mathematics are clear. He said no amount of historical warfare experience can overcome a 62-1 numerical disadvantage by this time tomorrow. Humanity will either be KRTHAX vassals or extinct. We should prepare memorial protocols. As Priva departed, Velthar turned back to the displayther. Krothak's fleet was beginning its approach vector. Moving with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat, the human ships continued their strange, scattered formations in the command center of the flagship UHN's Indomitable. Admiral Chen watched the same tactical display with very different eyes. All ships report ready. His communications officer announced. Payload deployment complete. Music selection locked and loaded. Chen allowed himself the smallest smile. Then let us teach the galaxy what it means to underestimate humanity, he said. Quietly signal all vessels. Protocol chaos is now active in the council chamber. Automated recording systems began documenting what everyone assumed would be a brief and tragic encounter. None of them could have imagined what the next 13 minutes would bring. The Krax Imperial Armada moved through space with the precision of a species that had perfected the art of conquest over 8,000 years. Supreme Commander Vrakther observed the approaching human fleet from his command throne aboard the dreadnought Eternal Dominion, his four eyes analyzing the tactical display with growing confusion mixed with contempt. They scatter like prey animals, his tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. No defensive formations, no coordinated positioning. They are already defeated in spirit. Vrakther growled his agreement. Though something nagged at his gentius instincts in 43 campaigns across 17 star systems, he had never seen an enemy simply abandon all tactical coherence before the first shot was even fired. What are those objects they are deploying? He demanded, gesturing at the display showing thousands of small contacts spreading throughout the combat zone. His science officer consulted the sensor data. scales shifting in a dismissive pattern, primitive kinetic devices. Perhaps came the response, possibly debris or sensor chaff. Their mass signatures are minimal. No energy readings beyond basic propulsion? Most likely a desperate attempt to create obstacles for our advance. Pathetic. Vrachther declared they faced the might of the Krax Empire with garbage and hope maintain course. All ships prepare to demonstrate Krathox. Superiority? What the Krox sensors failed to adequately analyze was that each of those primitive, kinetic devices contained compressed antimatter cores that violated at least 17 different galactic treaties humanity had never endorsed. Signed in the Council Observation Chamber. The delegates watched with morbid fascination as the drama unfolded. The humans are broadcasting something. Announced the communications monitor. A strange sound filled the chamber. Completely unlike any tactical transmission the Council had ever encountered, was music, wild and primal, with pounding rhythms and what the translator system struggled to classify as either battle cries or poetry. Is this a distress call? Someone asked, perhaps a final cultural transmission before their extinction. Suggested another analyst. Kervin studied the broadcast. With growing puzzlement, it appears to be a musical composition. From their historical database, the energy being reported the translator identifies. It is Ride of the Valkyries by a human composer named Wagner. They are playing music. Delegate Soren's bewilderment echoed through the chamber at such a moment. Clearly a psychological breakdown. Belthar concluded the stress of inevitable defeat has fractured their command structure aboard the UHN's Indomitable. Admiral Chen listened to Wagner's masterpiece, thundering through the ship's communication systems while watching his tactical display with the calm of a chess master who had already seen checkmate. 3 moves ahead all. Ships confirmed deployment complete, reported Commander Sarah Okonkwo. His second-in-command RKVs are in position and awaiting final authorization. Chen nodded. His eyes never leaving the advancing Krax fleet. They were moving exactly as predicted. Their formation textbook, perfect. Their confidence, absolute perfect. Targets, tactical. Confirm quantum entangled, targeting lock on all enemy vessels. He ordered lock confirmed. Came the crisp response. All human ships are synchronized. Targeting solutions uploaded to every RKV. Chen took a breath, thinking of Earth. Of the billions of humans who had been told they had no choice but to surrender or die, humanity had faced that ultimatum before. From dictators and emperors and those who believed might made right, the answer had always been the same authorization code: November Covicta, Dovember Covio Coromio surrender. Chen spoke clearly. Execute protocol. Chaos fire everything in the council chamber. The chronometers marked the official beginning of the engagement as the KRTHX fleet entered effective weapons range. Then the display erupted into chaos. The thousands of objects humanity had deployed suddenly accelerated to velocities that made the Council's sensor systems scream. Warnings, impossible. Kervin's energy field crackled with shock. Those readings cannot be correct. They show acceleration 2.9 light speed. The Krox fleet had no time to react. The relativistic kill vehicles struck with the force of directed stellar events at 90% light speed. Even a small mass carried devastating kinetic energy. The antimatter core simply ensured that everything died. The first wave of RKVs tore through the Krax formation like bullets through wet paper shields designed to deflect energy weapons and conventional missiles. Might as well have not existed. The laws of physics cared nothing for KRTHX military engineering in the first 30 seconds. 473 Kruthax vessels simply ceased to exist. Their matter converted to rapidly expanding clouds of superheated plasma. Supreme Commander Vrak Tar's tactical display turned from orderly blue icons to a sea of red warning symbols. Faster than his brain could process all ships' evasive maneuvers. He roared, but the words were meaningless. How did one evade something moving at 90% of light speed? By the time sensors detected an incoming RKV, it had already arrived. As Shield's officer was screaming numbers that made no sense. Energy readings that should have required stellar mass objects. His weapons officer fired everything. but hitting a target the size of a coffin moving at relativistic speeds was impossible. The second wave of RKVs, struck before the first wave's destruction, had even fully registered another 600 ships disappeared from existence. The carefully coordinated Krithax formation dissolved into panic ships, broke from their positions, attempting desperate flight in random directions. That was exactly what Admiral Chen had been waiting for. All ships, reveal secondary weapons, he ordered calmly. Target fleeing vessels. Show them what happens when they turn their backs. The 47 human vessels had looked primitive to Council observers. What those observers had failed to recognize was that every line, every curve, every seemingly aesthetic choice had been made with one purpose: hiding weapon systems that would have made the Council ban humanity from civilized space. Immediately, particle beam projectors that used quantum tunneling to bypass shields entirely, plasma cannons that fired bolts of magnetically contained star matter missile pods carrying warheads with programmable yield, ranging from conventional explosives to antimatter annihilation, and, most devastating of all, the Casimir disruptors. Weapons that exploited quantum vacuum fluctuations to literally tear the fabric of space-time in localized areas. The Council had rules about weapons that damaged reality itself. Humanity had never agreed to those rules. The human ships, no longer pretending to be anything but what they were, unleashed hell in the Council chamber. Stunned silence had replaced the earlier confident predictions. Tactical display showed something that should have been impossible. The Krax fleet, 3,000 strong just minutes ago, was being systematically annihilated. This cannot be happening, Velthor whispered, his bioluminescence flickering erratically. The simulations were based on false assumptions. Priva interrupted, her voice tight with realization. We calculated human capabilities based on their exploration vessels and public technology demonstrations. We never considered that they might have been hiding their true strength. Why would a species hide such power? Demanded Delegate Sorn in the display. Another cluster of Krithax ships vanished as human weapons found their marks because they wanted to be underestimated. Analyst Kervin answered, energy field pulsing with grudging admiration. We assumed their scattered formation was panic. It was strategy. We thought their small numbers meant weakness. It meant efficiency. We believed their youth made them naive. It made them unpredictable. Ambassador Threen's empathic field broadcast a mixture of horror and something else. Something that might have been pride. They are fighting a war unlike anything in galactic history. She observed no honor challenges, no fleet formations, no attempts at minimal casualties. They simply identified the most efficient method to destroy their enemy and executed it with perfect precision. This is not war, Delegate Sorn protested. This is slaughter. This is what war actually looks like when waged by a species that has practiced it for 10,000 years. Priva corrected quietly. We have been playing at warfare under civilized rules for so long that we forgot what unrestricted combat truly means. Humanity remembers aboard the Eternal Dominion. Supreme Commander Vrakthar watched his mighty fleet being torn apart and felt something his species had not experienced in living memory. Fear all ships, he transmitted. His voice, carrying the weight of defeat. Retreat, full retreat, signal the humans we surrender. The chronometer in the Council chamber read 13 minutes and 47 seconds. Since the first relativistic kill vehicle had struck in those 13 minutes, the entire galactic understanding of warfare had been rewritten in fire and physics. Admiral Chen studied the tactical display with the same calm expression he had worn throughout the engagement, though inside he felt the weight of every decision. Every life taken in those brutal minutes. Final count, Commander Okonkwo, he requested quietly. Sarah consulted her console, her own face carefully neutral. Krax fleet strength at engagement start, 3,012 vessels. She reported current KRTHAX fleet strength, 127 vessels. All remaining ships are broadcasting surrender and requesting mercy. Chen nodded slowly. Human losses? Ness Vigilant took minor damage from debris when a Krax dreadnought exploded too close to their position. Okonkwo continued. X Determination reports minor shield stress from extended firing. No casualties. No ships lost, the bridge crew sat in silence, processing what they had accomplished. 3,000 ships reduced to burning wreckage in less time than it took to eat a meal. Send response to Krithak's surrender. Chen ordered, inform them their remaining ships are to power down all weapons and hold position. Any attempt to flee or fight will result in immediate destruction. Humanitarian vessels are being dispatched to collect survivors from damaged ships. Admiral, the communications officer, acknowledged in the council observation chamber. The silence had taken on a different quality. It was no longer the silence of anticipation, but of profound shock. Representative Colt of the Mechanist Collective, who had called humanity foolish mere hours ago, spoke in a voice stripped of all arrogance. In 8,000 years of galactic history, I have never witnessed such devastating military effectiveness. The humans did not simply win, analyst Kervin observed. Energy field pulsing with colors indicating deep analysis. They achieved a level of tactical dominance that should not be possible between near-peer technological civilizations. Near-peer. Velthar's bioluminescence flickered weakly. We were wrong. About that assessment, catastrophically wrong. Ambassador Threen moved to the central display, her empathic field reaching out toward the battlefield where human ships now moved among the wreckage. Beginning rescue operations for Krechak survivors. They are saving them, she noted with surprise. After such violence, they now show mercy, a contradiction that defines their species, Priva suggested. Capable of terrible destruction, yet unwilling to commit genocide when victory is achieved, Delegate Soren's voice carried an edge of fear. We must address the real question before us, the delegate insisted. Humanity has just demonstrated military power that exceeds anything the Cracks could muster. The Cracks were considered one of the 3 most powerful military forces in known space. If humanity can destroy them in 13 minutes, what does that mean for the rest of us? The chamber erupted into urgent discussion. Species that had watched with detached curiosity now realized they were debating their own potential futures. We must demand they disarm. Someone shouted, we cannot coexist with such destructive capability, and who will enforce this demand? Another voice countered, did you not just witness what happens to those who threaten humanity? Velthar called for order, his bioluminescence flaring with authority. Before we descend into panic, we should hear from humanity directly, he announced. I have requested that Ambassador Okonkwo address the council. She is being transmitted from the human flagship now. The holographic display shifted, and a human woman appeared, wearing the same simple military uniform that Admiral Chen had worn in his earlier transmission. Sarah Okonkwo looked out at the assembled delegates with dark eyes that had seen too much in too short a time. Honored delegates of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice carrying a weight that demanded attention. I am Commander Sarah Okonkwo of the United Human Naval Service, is currently serving as military liaison to our diplomatic corps. I speak with the full authority of the human government and military command. She paused, letting the chamber settle. I know what you are thinking. Okonkwo continued. You are afraid. You watched us destroy in minutes what you believed would destroy us in ours. You are recalculating everything you thought you knew about humanity, about power, about your own safety in this galaxy. Good. The bluntness of that single word sent ripples through the chamber. For 73 years. Humanity has sought peaceful integration into galactic society, Okonkwo said. We have requested trade agreements, cultural exchanges, scientific cooperation. We have asked to be treated as equals, as partners in building a better future for all species. And for 73 years, you have treated us as children at best, and potential threats at worst. You denied us equal representation in this council. You imposed trade restrictions that did not apply to other spacefaring nations. You demanded we accept protectorate status under species that viewed us as primitives. Her voice hardened. And when we refused to accept second-class citizenship in our own galaxy, you sat in this chamber and voted to watch our extinction as a lesson to other arrogant young species. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Cracks issued their ultimatum because they believed you would not intervene. Okonkwo, continued they, were right. You voted 73% against helping us. Not because intervention would have been difficult, but because you wanted to teach us our place. Velthar's bioluminescence dimmed with shame. Commander, I am not finished. Okonkwo, cut him off with quiet authority. You want to know why? We hid our true capabilities. You want to know why we built weapons that violate your treaties and codes of warfare? The answer is simple. Because we knew this moment would come. We knew that eventually someone would test us, would push us, would demand we submit or die, and we knew that when that moment came, we would stand alone. She let that truth sink in before continuing. Did you really think a species that spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other would not be good at war? Okonkwo asked. We split the atom and immediately used it as a weapon. We reached space and militarized it within a decade. We developed fusion power and fusion bombs simultaneously. Everything we have ever created. We have also considered how to weaponize it. Is not something we are proud of, but it is who we are. And today, that nature saved our species from annihilation, the chamber remains silent. Hanging on every word, our ships are not exploration vessels hastily armed for war. Okonkwo explained they are weapons platforms with scientific equipment attached as an afterthought. Every technology we have shared with the galactic community has been carefully selected to hide our actual capabilities. You have seen our civilian fusion reactors, but not our antimatter production facilities. You have observed our basic shield generators, but not our quantum entangled defensive networks. You have analyzed our public weapons systems, but not the devices that can tear holes. In reality itself, we have been preparing for war while hoping desperately for peace. Analyst Curvin pulsed with a mixture of respect and concern. You planned all of this. The energy being stated, the scattered formation, the relativistic weapons, even the music kit was all calculated. Military strategists have studied every galactic conflict for the past 3,000 years. Okonkwo confirmed we identified patterns, weaknesses, assumptions that species make when they have not fought a true war in living memory. The cracks moved exactly as we predicted because they fought according to rules we never agreed to follow. They expected honor and formation battles. We gave them physics and mathematics. They anticipated a war of attrition. We delivered absolute destruction in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee. She leaned forward slightly, her gaze sweeping across the assembled delegates. But here's what you need to understand, Okonkwo said, her voice softening. Just slightly, we do not want to be your enemy. We never did. The 47 ships you saw today represent less than 8% of our actual naval strength. We have 600 more vessels in active service, with construction continuing at a rate that would alarm you if I disclosed the exact numbers. We could, if we chose, begin a campaign of conquest that would make the KRTHX Empire look peaceful by comparison. But we will not, because despite our talent for war, we prefer peace. We remember what endless conflict cost us on our homeworld. We remember the billions dead in wars that achieved nothing but more death. We came to space hoping to be better than we were, to find a galaxy where species worked together instead of conquering each other. Ambassador Threen's empathic field brightened with hope. Then what do you want from us? Okonkwo smiled, though it did not reach her eyes. What we have always wanted, to be treated as equals. The human rescue ships moved through the debris field with practiced efficiency, pulling Krithak's survivors from damaged vessels and providing medical care without hesitation or prejudice. Supreme Commander Vraktha watched from the bridge of his crippled flagship as a human medical team transported his wounded crew members to safety with a gentleness that seemed impossible. From the same species that had just annihilated his fleet, why do they help us? His tactical officer asked, confusion evident in his voice. We came to conquer them, to make them slaves. Vraktha had no answering his 43 campaigns. Enemies either fought to mutual destruction, or the victor claimed the spoils. This contradiction, this capacity for both devastating violence and immediate mercy, was beyond his experience. Human medical officer appeared on his communication screen. A young woman with kind eyes that seemed wrong on the face of someone from such a deadly species. Commander Vraktha, she said, impassible. Krithaks, we are detecting 17 life signs aboard your vessel. Our scans show your life support is failing. We are prepared to evacuate your crew if you permit. Why? Vraktha demanded. Why show mercy now? The human woman tilted her head slightly, considering the question. Because the war is over. She replied simply, you surrendered. And we accepted. What happens now is not war, but humanitarian responsibility. We may have defeated you, but we will not let you die if we can prevent it. Vrakthir felt something shift in his understanding of these strange beings. We underestimated you completely, he admitted. The human smiled. Sadly, everyone does, she said now. Will you accept our help? In the council chamber, Commander Okonkwo's transmission continued as delegates struggled to process the new reality they faced. We want full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities, she stated clearly. We want equal trading status with all member species. We want our sovereignty recognized without qualification or condition. And we want a seat at every table where galactic policy is decided. Delegate Soren made a sound of protest. You demand this after demonstrating such destructive power. You expect us to simply grant you everything you want because you can kill efficiently? Okonkwo's expression hardened. We do not demand anything, she corrected. We offer an exchange. Humanity will share our defensive technologies with council members who face external threats. We will help protect council space from hostile forces. Beyond your borders, we will contribute our scientific knowledge, our cultural achievements, our resources to the betterment of all galactic civilizations, but we will not be disarmed, we will not be controlled, and we will not be treated as lesser beings simply because we are young by galactic standards. Velthar processed this carefully. You mentioned defensive technologies, he noted, but not offensive ones. Correct. Okonkwo confirmed. We will help you protect yourselves, but we will not give you the weapons we use today. Some technologies are too dangerous to proliferate freely. We have learned this lesson on our own world through terrible experience. You speak as if you have authority to restrict galactic weapons development. Representative Colt Observeta Okonkwo's smile was small and cold. After today, who is going to argue with us? The truth of that statement settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Humanity had just demonstrated that they could destroy any fleet in known space. They had earned the right to set certain terms. There is another matter we must address. Analyst Kervin interjected. The relativistic kill vehicles you deployed violated the Treaty of Corvel, which prohibits weapons that cause indiscriminate destruction. We never signed that treaty. Okonkwo reminded them. We were not members of the council when it was ratified. We asked to participate in the negotiations, and were denied on the grounds that we were too primitive to understand galactic warfare. She let that irony hang in the air for a moment, however. We are willing to discuss joining such treaties now that we have proven we understand warfare very well indeed. Okonkwo continued, but such discussions will happen between equals, not as conditions imposed upon us. Ambassador Threens' empathic field pulsed with curiosity. You mentioned that the 47 ships we saw represent 8% of your naval strength. She said, why show us so little if you wanted to? Demonstrate power? Because we wanted to leave room for doubt. Okonkwo answered honestly. If we had deployed our full fleet, you would see us only as a threat to be destroyed before we grow stronger by showing limited numbers, achieving overwhelming victory. We demonstrate capability while leaving you uncertain of our full strength. Uncertainty breeds caution. Caution prevents rash decisions. Velthor felt a chill run through his sensory stalks. You are playing psychological warfare with the entire Galactic Council. We are playing survival, Okonkwo corrected. We are a young species in a galaxy full of ancient civilizations. We cannot afford to be underestimated, but we also cannot afford to be seen as monsters, so we show strength tempered with mercy, power balanced by restraint. We make you afraid of what we can do while making you hope we will not do it. The honesty was almost more unsettling than the military. Displayhead Ben Preva spoke up from her position near the tactical displays. I reviewed your cultural databases. Earlier, the junior analyst said your history is filled with wars, but also with remarkable examples of reconciliation after conflict. You rebuilt nations, you had bombed to ruins. You formed alliances with former enemies, created international bodies to prevent future wars. Is this what you hope to do here? Okonkwo's expression softened slightly. Yes, she said simply, we know what endless war costs. We have seen it destroy our world repeatedly. We came to space hoping to break that cycle, to find a way to resolve conflicts without resorting to total annihilation. Today we proved we can wage war. Tomorrow, we want to prove we can build peace. Admiral Chen's face appeared in a smaller window beside Okonkwo's, and several delegates recognized him from his earlier transmission. The Council should also know that we are not seeking conquest or empire, Chen added. Our analysis suggests that managing an interstellar empire would be inefficient and ultimately counterproductive to our goals. We want trade partners, not subjects. We want allies. Not vassals. We want to explore the galaxy, study its wonders, and contribute to the advancement of all species, but we will do so as free beings. Not as anyone's protectorate or client state. Delegate Soren still seemed unconvinced, and if we refuse your terms, if we decide that humanity is too dangerous to be granted full council membership, the question hung in the air like a Bladio Okonkwo, and Chen exchanged a glance. And some unspoken communication passed between them. Then humanity will withdraw from galactic affairs, Okonkwo answered. We will return to our space, fortify our borders, and develop our civilization in isolation. We will not threaten council members unprovoked. But we will also not participate in galactic society that treats us as second-class citizens. You will have your safety from us. And we will have our sovereignty. Everyone will lose the benefits of cooperation. But at least there will be no war. Chen nodded agreement, however. I would point out that refusing our membership does not make the galaxy safer. The Admiral added, we exist whether you acknowledge us or not. We will continue to develop technology and expand our capabilities. And every species that has territorial disputes with neighbors, trade conflicts, or political enemies will know that humanity can be hired or bargained with better to have us inside the Council, bound by its rules and committed to its principles, than outside where we might make our own. Alliances. The threat was subtle, but clear. In independent humanity with no loyalty to Council principles could become a destabilizing force if other species offered the right incentives. Representative Colt's mechanical systems. Word as he processed the implications. You have thought this through very carefully. Every contingency planned. We have strategic planning departments. Okonkwo confirmed some of our best minds have spent years considering how to navigate galactic politics from a position of weakness. Now we are navigating from a position of strength. But the careful planning remains. Velthar made a decision. The Council will need time to deliberate. He announced, this is not a choice to make lightly. How much time do you require? Take as long as you need, Okonkwo replied, but know that every day you debate, other species are watching and making their own calculations. The Cracks were not the only empire in this galaxy. When word spreads of what happened here today, others will respond, some with fear, some with respect, and some with ambition. Better to decide quickly whether humanity stands with the Council or alone. 3 months had passed since the 13-minute war. The galaxy had been transformed in ways both visible and subtle. The Galactic Council chamber was fuller than usual, with representatives from species that had not attended a session in decades suddenly finding reasons to be present. Everyone wanted to witness the historic vote. Of Valthar called the emergency session to order. His bioluminescence steady despite the tension that filled the vast space. Honored delegates, he began. We gathered to vote on the question of full human membership in the Galactic Council 3 months ago. We watched humanity defeat the Krithax Empire in what military historians are now calling the most one-sided engagement in galactic history since then. We have investigated human capabilities, studied their culture, and debated endlessly what their presence means for galactic stability. He gestured to the data displays surrounding the chamber. We have confirmed that humanity operates at least 600 military vessels, with construction continuing at alarming rates. We have verified their technological capabilities, exceed our initial estimates by significant margins. We have also documented their humanitarian efforts following the battle, including the complete reconstruction of 3 Krithax colony worlds damaged in previous conflicts and the establishment of medical exchanges that have saved thousands of Krithax lives. Ambassador Threen added her own observations. Empathic field radiating carefully controlled emotions in these 3 months. Humanity has demonstrated both incredible power and remarkable restraint. She reported they have honored every agreement made since the battle. They have shared defensive shield technology with 7 member species facing external threats. Asking nothing in return, they have opened their scientific databases to council researchers. And they have made no territorial demands despite their military supremacy. Representative Colt, who had been one of humanity's harshest critics, spoke. With grudging respect, I have analyzed human technological development across multiple fields. The Mechanist delegate reported their innovation rate continues to accelerate in the past 90 days alone. They have filed patents for 47 new technologies, 12 of which represent fundamental advances in fields we considered mature, if current trends continue. Humanity will achieve technological parity with the most advanced council species within 2 centuries. Possibly less. Delegate Soren rose. Earlier hostility replaced by wary pragmatism. I have reviewed the strategic analysis prepared by our military consultants. He stated their conclusion is unanimous. Military confrontation with humanity would be catastrophic for any council member. Even a coalition of multiple species would likely fail. Against human warfare doctrine, our only viable options are cooperation, or isolation. Analysts curve projected data across the chamber's displays. I have studied historical patterns of emerging powers in galactic society. The energy being reported in 73% of cases. Refusal to integrate such powers led to conflict within a century in 89% of cases where integration occurred. Overall, galactic stability improved. Humanity represents an unprecedented situation, but historical patterns suggest inclusion reduces long-term risk. Velthar allowed the data to be absorbed before continuing. We have also received communications from non-council species. He added the Zelhari Compact has offered humanity a mutual defense treaty. The Korvax Trading Federation has proposed exclusive economic partnerships. At least 6 independent systems have requested human military protection in exchange for basing rights. The implications were clear if the Council rejected humanity. Others would note a human power bloc could form outside Council authority, potentially destabilizing the existing order. Ambassador Sarah Okonkwo sat in the human delegation area, wearing formal diplomatic attire rather than her military uniform beside her. The official human ambassador to the Galactic Council, Ambassador James Chuno, relation to Admiral Marcus Chuno, waited calmly before we vote. Humanity should be allowed to speak. Ambassador Threen suggested. Velthar gestured agreement. And Ambassador Chen rose to address the assembly-honored delegates. He began, his voice carrying the practiced calm of a career diplomat. 3 months ago, my people faced annihilation. We were told to surrender our freedom or die. We chose a third option, to fight for our right to exist as free beings. The method we used shocked the galaxy, and I will not pretend otherwise. We waged war with a brutality that violated your cultural norms and challenged your assumptions about civilized conflict. He paused, meeting the gazes of delegates across the chamber. But I want to be clear about something. Chen continued, we are not proud of what we did. Every human who participated in that battle carries the weight of the lives taken. Admiral Chen himself spent 3 days in meditation afterward, confronting what he had ordered our crews volunteer. For counseling to process the trauma of such violence, we are efficient killers. Yes, but we are not sociopaths. We feel the cost of war, even when we win. Commander Okonkwo stood beside him, her military bearing a contrast to his diplomatic presentation. The weapons we deployed were developed over decades in secret. She added, not because we wanted to use them, but because we feared we might need to. Every simulation, every tactical plan assumed we would face this moment alone, and we were right when the KRTHX issued their ultimatum. 73% of this council voted to watch us die. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably at the reminder, we do not raise this fact to shame you. Ambassador Chen said quickly, we understand that galactic politics are complex. Species have competing interests, that intervention carries costs, but we needed to demonstrate that we could protect ourselves without council help, because if we could not, we had no business asking for equal membership. He gestured to the tactical displays that still showed the battle's data. Today we stand before you having proven our capability. Chen stated, We have shown we can defend ourselves. Project Power. And wage war with devastating efficiency. We have also shown we can exercise restraint, provide humanitarian aid, and seek peaceful resolution after conflict. We are not asking you to love us or even fully trust us. We are asking you to recognize reality. Humanity is here. We are powerful. We are not going away. The question is whether we face the future together or separately. Preva had become an unofficial expert on humanity. Spoke up from the analyst section. I have spent the past 3 months studying human culture in depth. She reported one pattern emerges consistently. Humans are at their best when working toward common goals with others. Their greatest achievements came through cooperation. Their worst atrocities occurred when they divided into hostile factions. Integration benefits both humanity and the Council. Velthar sensed the mood in the chamber shifting. We will now vote on full human membership in the Galactic Council. He announced this requires a 2/3 majority to pass. The voting commenced, and the chamber fell silent as delegates made their choices. The results appeared on the central display. 81% in favor of human membership. A collective release of tension rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Chen bowed formally to the assembly on behalf of humanity. We accept this membership with gratitude and humility. He said we pledge to uphold Council principles, contribute to galactic prosperity, and work toward a future where all species can thrive. We also pledge to defend Council members from external threats with the same ferocity we use to defend ourselves. Commander Okonkwo added her own promise. Our military stands ready to serve galactic peace. She stated the weapons that destroyed the KR Shek's fleet will protect Council space from those who would threaten it. We learned to wage war through terrible experience. Now we will use that knowledge to preserve peace. The chamber erupted in discussion as delegates processed what had just occurred. Humanity, the species that had seemed primitive and insignificant just months ago, was now a full member of the most powerful political organization and known space later. In a private meeting, Velthor spoke with Ambassador Chen and Commander Okonkwo. I must confess something. The Zanari diplomat admitted when I first encountered humanity, I saw you as children playing with technology you did not understand. I was catastrophically wrong. Chen smiled slightly. You were not entirely wrong. He replied, we are young by galactic standards. We do have much to learn. Being young does not mean being weak or foolish. It means having fresh perspectives and the energy to implement them. Okonkwo leaned forward, her expression serious. The real question is what happens next. She said we have membership now, but integration will take time. There will be species who resent us, who fear us, who want to test our resolve. Velthor's bioluminescence pulsed. With concern, you expect more conflicts? Conflicts are inevitable when power structures shift. Chen acknowledged, but hopefully they will be diplomatic conflicts resolved through negotiation rather than military ones resolved through violence. We meant what we said. We prefer peace, even if we are very, very good at war, the Zanari ambassador considered this carefully. What made you so effective? He asked. Not just your technology or tactics, but your mindset. Why were you prepared for war when you sought peace? Okonkwo and Chen exchanged glances.